All right, welcome to the Last Dance After Show. If you are just joining us, obviously, this is the Last Dance After Show, and we're gonna react to everything that happened in episodes 5 and 6. There's a lot to unpack here, a lot that as a huge Jordan fan, some things happen in these two episodes that I didn't know about, or at least we haven't really gone too deep into some of these events and some of these topics. And I really can't wait to see and hear what you guys have to say about a couple of these things. They're two big things that stood out to me in this episode, and they're both controversial. One is a lot more controversial than the other, and I hope we could have a good conversation on this because I'm not technically speaking the right person to be kind of giving my thoughts on this one particular story and event that happened in Michael Jordan's career. But I'm hoping there's some people in the chat that can speak from personal experience and just their background on this thing that happened with Michael Jordan. But before we get to that, let's go back and let's look at episodes 3 and 4, because throughout the week we did do a after show for those the previous two episodes, but throughout the week some stories that popped up, some people had started to react to them. So I want to share with you guys a couple of things that went on through the week. Scott Burrell's wife, is it Burrell or Burrell? Anyways, Scott Burrell's wife, it kind of rhymes like Purell, which is definitely on my mind. If you got any Purell, I'd love to buy some off you. But his wife, now Scott Burrell, if you're not familiar, this is the guy right here that Jordan in last week's episode at the very end was kind of like roasting. And this guy, he's awesome because he was a rookie at that time, and he's calling, Michael Jordan, he's like, M, like, don't stop. He calls him M, which I haven't heard anyone. I have a cousin, my girlfriend's cousin. He's really like our nephew. He's super young, but his name's MJ. His name's Matt Jess, and we always call him M. So it's funny to see him say M to Michael Jordan, but he's kind of like, hey man, my parents are gonna see this. Don't embarrass me. And Michael's just going in, just busting his balls like boys do. And what's funny about this is his wife now jokes about calling him Baby Rodman, and you can see her Twitter here. She says that she was in high school when Baby Rodman was at his peak, and she wants to hear about Baby Rodman and all this stuff. Pretty funny. Right here, look at this tweet. Biggest L's of the Last Dance Night 2, number 4. Anytime Scott Burrell told his family he wasn't coming home because he was busy working. His wife says, really, number 4? A W in my book. That's pretty funny. Anyways, another thing from last episode, Isaiah Thomas is tripping. Isaiah Thomas is tripping. Look at this quote from Isaiah Thomas right here. When you put Jordan and his basketball team in the 80s, they weren't very successful team. They just weren't. When you talk about Jordan and his team dominating, they dominated the 90s. But when you put him with those Lakers teams and those Piston teams and those Celtic teams, they all beat him. They just did. What separated Jordan from all of us was he was the first one to three-peat, but he didn't three-peat against Magic, Larry, or Dr. J. Why does he throw in Dr. J when he names Lakers, Pistons, Celtics? He doesn't name the Sixers, but he throws in Dr. J. Listen, Isaiah, we know you're salty how you were portrayed in last week's episode, but guess what? Own up to it. You don't have to. I think Isaiah Thomas ranks Michael as the 4th best player he ever faced. I don't know. He's tripping. I mean, that's just a bad take. I don't know what else to call it. It's a bad take. He's clearly still salty about, not shaking Jordan's hand, and it kind of, bit him in the ass, but I mean, he's tripping. Jordan is the GOAT. Jordan is the GOAT. And for Isaiah to say he's the 4th best player he ever played against, I mean, this dude swept you. He swept you, dog. He absolutely killed you that one year. And I get it. You beat him those other times, and yeah, he didn't beat Larry, at his peak, but he did beat Magic, that was in, 1990. It wasn't like peak Magic, but Magic was still he was really freaking good that year, and he did beat him. So look, Isaiah's just tripping. I think it's funny how you can't help but feel that he's just like digging himself deeper in the hole that he already dug himself into. Way back in whatever year that was, 1990, he dug himself into a hole by not shaking hands. And in 2020, 30 years later, he's still digging himself into this hole. It's just crazy. Now, another guy who's tripping, Craig Elo. If you don't know who Craig Elo is, this is Craig Elo. He is the guy that Jordan essentially hit the game winner in Cleveland on, where they went through that. Now, he is saying here, he fires back at Ron Harper. He says, I never said I was a Jordan stopper like Gerald Wilkins or anything, but back then, Harp and me were on the court at the same time, and he was our big offensive threat. That's right. Ron Harper was a killer offensively. Ron Harper that you may know was not the peak Ron Harper. Peak Ron Harper was really good. I believe he drew some Jordan comparisons coming out of college. Anyways, Elo goes on to say, so when I came in, it was a no-brainer that I would guard Jordan so Harp could rest on defense and play on offense. Now, that sounds good. That sounds good to me, because when I play in my rec league, my role on that team is to score, and I don't want to guard the best player. And my teammates know that, so they have someone else guard it. I mean, that's common practice in basketball. So Elo's making sense there, but here's where he starts to trip. Harp had never really talked about defense or guarding people. He wasn't a bad defender, I will give him that much, but I think in those years with the Bulls where he got those championships, he was definitely third or fourth fiddle, so all of a sudden, he becomes a lockdown defender, apparently. He says, apparently he becomes a lockdown defender. And then he goes to say, I don't really remember him during our time wanting to play defense that much. He kind of shocked me with those comments saying that he wanted to guard Michael. Now, Elo isn't totally dead here, because Ron Harper did say that he wanted to guard Jordan on that last shot, and he got vetoed by the coach or whatever. That Harp could have been embellishing or totally making that up. He might have not voiced his opinion at that time, but Jordan himself in the documentary says, Harper played me better. Harper played me better. So for Craig Elo to say like he didn't really play defense and, apparently he became a lockdown defender, it's like Jordan himself said that Harper should have been guarding him. So Craig Elo, not as big tripping as Isaiah Thomas, but still tripping. Now, the last thing from last week's episode, Los Angeles area caterer creates a menu inspired by The Last Dance. Now, I have some of the menu items here. This is a crazy headline. Some of the menu items. Let me see here. You have the Detroit Bad Boys menu item, which is essentially a pizza platter, and it's got Chicago pizza and Detroit pizza on the same plate. So it's kind of like, Detroit people are always saying that their pizza's better, and Chicago's always saying that deep dish is better. Chicago, by the way, people, I just want to put this out there. I love Chicago deep dish. That doesn't mean I think it's the better pizza. I love all pizza. I really do. I don't think we should be choosing one side. We can all enjoy them. I enjoy all pizza. Chicago pizza, New York pizza, Detroit pizza. I love all pizza. If you don't know what Detroit pizza is, it's basically, is there a photo here? Yeah, here it is. This is Detroit pizza here. Square pizza. Here's the deep dish. Here's the Detroit. I like all pizza. So I think this is funny. It's, got Chicago versus Detroit with the pizza there. Another menu item is Steve Kerr's three-pointer, which is 3 roasted peppers and squash tamales as an ode to Claudio Veliz, a.k.a. the tamale guy who packs up his cooler, who apparently he packed up his cooler with tamales and was outside bars and clubs in the Chicago's north side. So that's cool. I mean, they did some research there. There was the Ultimate Wingman menu item, which honors Scottie Pippen, and it features a dozen spicy chicken wings with blue cheese and ranch dressing with carrots and celery. It's basically a wing platter, but you get it like Scottie Pippen's the Ultimate Wingman, so they give him chicken wings. I like this. If they wanted to get super meta, they could have had, you know, a 6-foot sub. We all know the Scottie Pippen classic 6-foot sub commercial, Mr. Sub out in Chicago. But just so you guys know, blue cheese is the way to go with hot wings. I'm sorry, but blue cheese, it's better than ranch for hot wings. I love ranch, but for hot wings, blue cheese, no doubt. The last item, coconut water ginger tonic, which is inspired by the fluids Jordan needed to drink during the infamous flu game. So shout out to Los Angeles area caterer. I don't know how many people are ordering catering, but they inspired their menu from The Last Dance. So huge shout out to them, I guess. But let's take a look in the chat. Yo, shout out to Josiah. Thanks for joining. I know you guys, or you were here last week. Brian, I was expecting to see you. Glad to see you back. Brian says a third or fourth fiddle on the greatest team of all time isn't a bad spot to be in, Elo. Yes, absolutely right. I don't know why he kind of took a shot like that, but I agree with you, Brian. Anyways, that was a recap from last week's episode, some things that had developed throughout the week. Again, guys, if you want to, you know, support the chat, I'm going to drop a link here where you could do your own GIF, I think, if you do a donation or a super chat or anything like that. You guys don't have to. We're just here reacting to The Last Dance, but it's there if it's if you want to. I appreciate it very much. Last week, we had 3 super chats. Huge shout out to everyone who donated. James Mon right there on the bottom. Is it your guys right? James Mott went a $20 donation. I appreciate it very much, brother. But let's, I don't know, should we talk about the sneaker first or should we talk about the episode first? I think we should talk about the episode first because it's fresh in our minds. Let me bring up my notes here. Okay, here we go. So I want to start by talking about the Harvey Gantt situation. And the reason why I want to talk about this first is because Jordan's relationship with the African American community hasn't been, you know, perfect. I've seen both sides of the community, the African American community, where some people, you know, they love Jordan. He's the GOAT. And I've seen the other side where they still think he's the GOAT, but they don't fully appreciate how he's interacting with their community and how he's, in a way, I don't know how to put this, because like I said at the beginning of the stream, guys, I'm not the right guy to be talking about this. Obviously, I'm not African American, but if anyone in the chat is, I would love to get your perspective on Jordan's relationship with your community. Because I think it's, from my lens, like just from me throughout the years, I've seen both sides, like I said, and it hasn't been perfect. I've seen people say that, hey, you know, kids are killing themselves over buying Jordans and he isn't really doing anything. Jordan is more, you know, concerned about his own personal wealth. And there's always been little stories of Jordan suing this company and that company. And I've actually had personal, I'm once removed from someone who had a company be sued by Jordan. Maui Gyms, which is, you've probably seen their sunglasses. I'm from Maui, and my auntie, she has a pretty high level position there. They did this line called MJ Sport, which was like sporty sunglasses. And she told me that MJ tried to sue Maui Gyms for using, you know, MJ. He thought they were cashing in on, you know, his name, his initials. I don't think he won. I don't think he won that lawsuit. I think he dropped it and he donated some things to the company or whatever. But there's always, my point is, there's always stories about Jordan doing some, you know, rich guy shit. I don't know how else to put it. Just rich guy, you know, stomping on the little guy a little bit. And this Harvey Gantt situation is something that we haven't, I say we as a collective fan base of basketball, the NBA, Michael Jordan, Air Jordans, sneakers, and so on, sport, even just athletes or celebrity, we haven't really dived too deep into this. And I applaud this documentary and Jordan for kind of taking it head on, even though this documentary is surrounding the last season, right? It's called The Last Dance, but they are touching on these controversial events in his career, like the Harvey Gantt situation. So if you didn't watch the episode, or you need a refresher, Harvey Gantt was this African-American guy running for, what was it, governor of North Carolina, I believe. And his opponent, Jesse Helms, was apparently, he was a racist or whatever. I don't really know too much. I wasn't really, alive back then. So I was alive, but not really. I was like 1 year old. But what Jordan said was Republicans buy Nikes too. And Harvey Gantt, the African-American guy running for governor, was a Democrat and the other guy was a Republican. So it came off like Jordan was saying, I want to protect my wealth here. He didn't say that. And I think what Jordan said was not the right way to say it. But what he was trying to say was, I don't want to get into politics. And by saying what he said and how he said it, he got himself into politics. And it's funny how that all works out. It's funny how politics works out. Never bring up politics at the dinner table. It never, ever works. And if you don't want to be the guy to bring up politics. So what Jordan said was not the right way, but I think what he was trying to say was, I don't want to get into politics. I don't want to choose one side or the other. Or he could have said, you know what? My political views are my political views. I don't want it to be public. He could have said that, but he didn't. He said, and Jordan was still fairly young at that point. I mean, he's always been mature, but it wasn't like I don't think Jordan in 1997 would say what he said. And I believe this was in 1992 or 91. Might have been 93. I'm not sure, but it was in the early 90s. And like I said, this kind of made the African-American community look at Jordan with a little bit of a side eye. And they were conflicted. And we saw Obama talk about it where, Obama's like, yeah, as an African-American guy, I'm loving Michael Jordan. But you kind of wanted him to attack that question or that issue a little bit differently. And he did eventually donate a huge contribution to the Harvey Gantt, what is it, campaign? I hate politics so much. I don't even know the right terminology, but Jordan's mom basically made him do that. Jordan's mom wanted him to do a public statement about this situation. He didn't. He made the donation. Harvey Gantt ends up losing, and Jesse Helms says some racist shit. I mean, I was so shocked that what he said, I don't even remember what he said, but apparently Jesse Helms is a notorious, infamous guy down there in the South. So I think these days, Jordan would have to pick a side. If this happened in the modern era right now with social media and all this stuff, I don't think Jordan could say no comment. You know what I mean? I don't think Jordan could say, hey, my political views are my political views, even though I think that's the right thing to do. That's what I would do. I think when you have the spotlight on you so hard like Jordan did, and we saw it in this last episode, the spotlight was just on him 24/7, 25/8, you could say. When you have that spotlight on you, and with social media, you kind of have to pick a side. People don't want to hear no comment. People don't want to hear yes and no. People want to hear yes, and people want to hear no, and they want to react. And I think that's a social media issue, and it's inescapable. And I think it's on the people using social media to rise above it. But let me just take a look at the chat here. Stubbs2X says, I don't think that he, Michael, doesn't care about the community. It is really Nike's fault for marketing and releasing them in limited supply. Yeah, Stubbs, you have a point there, but Michael is the head of what Nike is selling. And Michael does have the power. You don't think if Michael was like, hey, I don't want, kids dying, for my shoes anymore. You guys need to make more shoes or you need to release it differently, that Nike would do it. I mean, they would. They would absolutely do it, because what Nike doesn't want is for Michael to turn on themselves, at least at this time. Now, Jordan Brand and Nike are like almost two different things. They're two separate companies. But back then, Jordan definitely had the sway. And as we saw in this episode, it started off with the whole Nike-Jordan relationship. They were really both upstarts. Jordan was a rookie and Nike was this new up-and-coming sportswear company, and they kind of both rose together. So one didn't, even though Nike was paying Jordan, you could say, had just as much leverage from Nike or to Nike in this situation. So I agree with you, Stubbs, but I don't think your comment fully, takes on the whole situation, which it wasn't meant to be. But thank you so much for joining the chat. Now this guy's coming in hot. I can't even say this guy's name in the chat. I'm just going to say, he says, so blacks are supposed to support black politicians simply because they're black. You're right. I don't expect that. I don't at all. And I'm not saying Jordan should. I'm saying, look, this is a great documentary. And if you haven't seen the OJ documentary that ESPN did, it's long, it's slow at times, but it's worth it to me. I've watched that documentary 4 or 5 times. It's probably my favorite documentary. I'm going to wait to see if this Last Dance documentary beats the OJ one. But the OJ one is so fascinating for a number of reasons. And one of them is the black community kind of turned on Chris Darden. Chris Darden was a guy who was on the prosecution trying to get OJ for murder, right? He was trying to find OJ guilty of murder. So it was a black guy trying to convict the black guy, and the black community was upset at this. And I always thought it was interesting, because isn't the point of equality that a black man can try another black man? What is, are white lawyers only supposed to try black, suspects, defendants? Is that how it goes? That seems racist to me. So for the black community to kind of shun Chris Darden and call him an Uncle Tom, Johnny Cochran, from the defense, OJ's main defense lawyer, basically the subtext of what he was saying in the court was that Chris Darden is an Uncle Tom. So I always thought it was interesting. So you're right, guy who I cannot name in the chat, aka Voldemort. African Americans aren't supposed to just support African Americans. I agree with you, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is people's reaction to what Jordan said, which was a non-reaction. Jordan didn't say, I support Republicans. Jordan didn't say, I support Democrats. He didn't say, I love Harvey Gantt. He didn't say, I love Jesse Helms. He just said, hey, Republicans buy Nikes too, which he's right, but you don't say that. Politics is a very touchy situation. You don't really say that. The whole situation was interesting. I would love to get more of what you guys think about this. And if anyone's in the African-American community, I would love to get your take on Jordan and his interaction with your community, because like I said earlier, I've seen a lot of different opinions. And by the way, have you guys checked out my shirt from Point 3? I miss basketball. I love this shirt. I just got it in the mail. I miss basketball from Point 3. Definitely check them out. But that's not a paid plug. That's just all me. I really love this shirt, guys. Danon Dean in the chat says, he makes so much money, Jordan probably just doesn't want his name in any social media headlines, good or bad. Publicity still makes some money. I think I get what you're trying to say here. Or he still makes so much money. Yeah, Danon, I mean, when you're that famous, and Jordan's kind of grandfathered in, but with LeBron, it's almost like people want him to take a stance. And I think we as fans and the media have put more pressure on athletes these days to make these athletes choose a side. And it's really sad because I can't imagine being in that position. Like if someone in the chat right now was like, hey, are you going to vote for Trump or are you going to vote for Biden? You know, it's like, I don't want to answer that. I don't want to choose a side. And I'll tell you guys my answer. I don't vote. I don't vote because I think it's stupid choosing one side or the other. What if I like something that guy said and not what that guy said, but then he did also have a policy that I like, but that other guy didn't have a policy. So where do I go here? I have to pick. It's really picking the lesser of two evils. And I think Jordan, he had the right intention, but it just didn't come out right. So it was a controversial thing that he said, but it wasn't a controversial side that he picked. And the side that he picked was none. He didn't pick any side. He said, by saying Republicans buy Nikes too, he's implying that Democrats buy Nike. So he's right in the middle. And yeah, of course, it hurts the business if he chooses one side. It does. And for him, he wants to make money. I mean, that's what America is. You're allowed to make as much money as you want. And I don't think Jordan was wrong here, but what he said, how he said it, the approach was wrong. It was kind of like LeBron's decision to leave Cleveland. That's not the wrong decision. A lot of people were upset, but I think a lot of people were upset how he left Cleveland, right? He did it at the Boys and Girls Club for charity, but he did it in some rich town in Connecticut. It's like, they don't need charity, bro. Like, do this in Akron, maybe, or whatever. Like, do it in a less privileged community. It was the way LeBron left Cleveland that people were mad. I don't think they were necessarily so mad that LeBron tried to find something better for himself and his family and for his career. It was the way he did it that was a slap in the face to Cleveland fans. And I think this Harvey Gantt situation with Jordan was a slap in the face to a certain extent. So I'm going to look in the chat for some of your guys' comments on this situation, and then we'll move on to the next one, which is Jordan's gambling issue. Let's see. Josiah says, I just kind of wish Michael did more to stand for his civil rights. Yeah, Josiah, I think a lot of people are with you there. A lot of people, they want to see Jordan be more active in their community, the African-American community. But the reality is he doesn't have to. And I think not taking a stance in some ways is the safer bet than taking a stance, even though him standing up for his civil rights is the right stance. It brings a lot of problems, and it brings it, like Danon said earlier, it brings a lot of attention and headlines that Jordan just doesn't want to be a part of. He doesn't. He has a lot going on. He doesn't want to be a part of that. So I see both sides is what I'm trying to say. Let's take a look in the chat. Demarius says, it's a matter you could only understand being black. It's hard being a black man in the U.S. and it's hard to be a black man in the U.S. I'm sorry, Demarius. You're I think you might have a couple typos there, but I feel you, man. That's why I want the African American perspective on this, because like I said, I'm not the right person to be having a take on it. I don't have a take other than I think the way Jordan said it could have been, prepared better. But I don't have a stance on whether or not he should have supported Harvey Gantt or not. I don't. I don't. I think politics is a choice. It's a choice for you to say politics should be a choice for you to be like, I support this person. And if you don't want to say you support this person or the other, that's a choice that you have. It's your right as an American, as a human being, to not say anything. And so you're right. I don't know what it's like to be African American in America. And I would love to get that perspective. Brian says, when someone like LeBron says something vaguely political, they tell him to shut up and dribble. Either way, you lose. Did hurt me a bit with the I don't vote, though. Here's the thing, Brian. I appreciate you. You were the MVP of last week's chat. You're right. When LeBron says something vaguely political, he gets killed for it. He gets skewered in the media. I get it. I'm for athletes voicing their opinions, and I'm also for athletes not voicing their opinions. It's a choice. Let's see. My favorite player in the league is Damian Lillard. I don't care who he's going to vote for. Do I want to know who he's going to vote for? No. But I do realize there are some fans that do want to know. But it's not their right to demand to know who Damian Lillard is going to vote for. It's Damian Lillard's right to say whether or not he's going to say he's voting for this person or not. It's your own right. And, I think fans get caught up with like expecting too much from these guys. Like, I expect you to choose a side here on this issue. It's very tough because now you can connect with these athletes in so many different ways. Like, I could go into Damian Lillard's feed and be like, I could send him a link, like, hey, look, what do you think about these North Korean refugees being held hostage at the border, And if he doesn't comment on it, the media could say, oh, Damian Lillard doesn't care about North Korean refugees. That's unethical to me. You have to let these guys have no comment because you don't want to comment on something you don't know anything about. And you don't want to comment on something that is going to get you in hot water. So it is your right. And for you, Brian, I don't vote. It's just something that I wasn't raised with. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote, at least to my knowledge. That's what I was taught growing up. So I don't vote. It's just something that hasn't concerned me. Do I think it's important to vote? Yes, I do. I think it's important to vote if it's important to you. That's your right. Okay. A couple last things in the chat here. Demarius says, referring to the OJ reference, in that era, you looked at it as a sellout going against another African American simply because the odds are against you. Demarius, I don't want this to turn into an OJ thing, but I would love to do that. But this is a Last Dance documentary, but I do want to acknowledge your comment. You're right. It must have been tough, and I had no idea how that might have felt for African Americans across America to see Chris Darden prosecute O.J. Simpson. However, what I'm saying is African Americans should have saw that as equal opportunity that a black man could try another black man. And if it was just white lawyers prosecuting O.J., just look at the optics of that. That looks way worse. So I think it's a lose-lose situation, really, there, Demarius. Josiah says, I agree with you, Geron. Players should not have to answer to those questions who want to get into all of their business. Yes, you're right. Danon Dean says, yes, you just watch basketball for basketball, not for politics, but you can have opinions. You're right, Danon. We watch these guys for basketball, for what they do, but if you want to get deeper, you can do that. You just can't expect it. You can't demand it. You can't kill an athlete for not having an opinion, but it's there if you want. So that's my whole. I think that was the most interesting part of tonight's episode, the whole Harvey Gantt situation. So thank you for everyone who chimed in the chat. I really appreciate it. I know it's a touchy subject, but it was something that definitely stood out to me in tonight's episode. Now, let's move on here. The next thing I want to talk about is Jordan's gambling. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but the gambling was always kind of like the Joker card in Jordan's deck that was his career. It was always that one thing that was kind of looming in his career. It was the one vice he had. It was the one kind of dark place. And when you look at the history of all these athletes, all great athletes, they all have one thing. No one's perfect. I'm not saying anyone is. No one's perfect. No human's perfect. And for Jordan, he was about as perfect as you could be. And we saw that lady say it in the documentary in tonight's episode that he was like spotless, except the gambling. That was the one thing. Obviously, the Sim Bowler situation kind of opened the floodgates for the media to kind of prod at Jordan about his gambling issues, they say. And Jordan has maintained his stance even to this day, like gambling. I've done everything legal. I go to Atlantic City, I go to Vegas. I'm doing the right things. There's no laws against this. I agree with you. And for me, he doesn't have a gambling problem. And I wrote this in my notes. I said he has a competition problem. And then a little bit later in the documentary, he said that with the interview with Ahmad Rashad, where he was wearing the sunglasses. He said, I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competition problem. And I just thought it was funny that I wrote that before he had brought it up. Like I said, nothing he did was illegal. But the thing about gambling, it attracts seedy people. Gambling just does that. And gambling is an addiction. And it does have negative, it makes people look at other people a little bit negatively. But with Jordan, like he said, he's like, I'd be hawking this watch if I had a gambling problem. My kids would be starving. My wife would be starving. She would leave me. You're right. But at the same time, Michael, you have tons of money and you're going to make money. People with gambling addictions, they're just constantly in debt. They just can't save money. So that's why the media jumped on Jordan, because gambling is a problem for so many people across the world. But for Jordan, it's not an issue, partly because, I would say mainly because he's rich. He can gamble $10,000 easy. David Aldridge said that $10,000 is like $10 for Jordan. And like I said, gambling attracts seedy people, and Sim Buller was just one of those guys who was seedy. And I think when you're asking the question, why is Jordan associating himself with Sim or Slim? Because he might have not known what that guy was up to with the drugs and the trafficking and all that stuff. But when a gambler meets another gambler, it's on. Like, it's really on. It's like, oh, you think you could beat me? How much you want to put down? And the stakes just keep rising. And as a competitor, like Michael Jordan is, for him to see another guy really go toe-to-toe with Jordan, and I think that's why Jordan loves gambling so much, is because he might not be the best blackjack player. He might not be the best golfer. We saw that in tonight's episodes where he's like, I can't read the green. He's not playing good golf or whatever. Jordan isn't the best gambler, so he can't dominate, so he keeps trying to get better and better. And I'm like that. When I pick up a new video game, I want to master the video game. You know what I mean? I want to be the best. I want to unlock everything. I want to beat on the hardest difficulty. I'm a completionist. I want to beat this game. I think a lot of people are like that. Jordan's like that for gambling. He's like, oh, why can't I beat this guy? I just keep betting, keep gambling to try to beat him. So that's why I think he was associated with people like Sim, or was it Slim Buller? I don't know. But I don't think Jordan had a gambling problem. I just think he had a competition problem, and gambling was a way for him to raise the stakes, because he was, you have to think about it, right? Jordan was the best basketball player in the world, winning championships after championships, dominating his opponents, knocking off legends, embarrassing other guys on the court, which we'll get to. We'll get to Clyde Drexler. How does he get his competitive edge off? How does he feed his competitive hunger? He does it by gambling. And I think that's why he fell into that hole of gambling. And I hope they go more into the gambling in the next couple of episodes with his retirement, because there are some theories that Jordan got suspended for gambling. I don't want to speak too soon. And by the way, my eyes are absolutely killing me with the allergies, but I think the mafia might have been involved just a little bit. He might have gotten into depth with the mafia. That's just a rumor I heard, or a theory. I wonder if they're going to get into that in episodes 7 and 8. But let me take a look at the chat here. Let's see. Ben Carter says, whether a white guy or a black guy, you got to respect their game. That's why basketball is so pure. Yes, Ben, absolutely. Basketball, I think, is the most pure sport. Josiah says, honestly, I think that he was called out on his gambling just so that people could say Jordan did something wrong. Also, what are your thoughts on Sam Smith's book? Yeah, we'll get into Sam Smith's book after the gambling topic. But Josiah, you're right. Ahmad said it in tonight's episodes that, you know, people build you up to tear you down. When the team wins, you want to see them lose. And I think the media did jump on Jordan just to say, oh, look, we found something. We found a flaw, you know, in the Matrix. You know, this guy who was perfect. We found his vice, and they jumped on it. And they got to sell papers. I get it. But that's why I could never be a reporter. I just couldn't write that story. Even though my boss is like, I want you to write a story about Jordan's gambling problem. My own personal ethics, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. That's why I can't be a reporter. Reporting's not for everyone. So those are my thoughts on Jordan's gambling. Brian says, Brian 12-ish, seeing and hearing Ahmad Rashad just makes me smile. Super nostalgic for me. Yeah, Ahmad, his voice, man. His voice is so nostalgic. He's just got he's just good at his job, man. He's just good. He's charismatic. You know, you want to hang out with him. You feel like you know him. You wish you knew him. Ahmad Rashad, he's definitely like one of the GOAT sideline reporters. It's him, Craig Sager, Doris Burke, and I think that's the list there. Howard Cosell, he didn't do sideline reporting. He did like ringside reporting. But those are like the GOAT reporters for me. Stuart Scott, can't forget about Stuart Scott. Shout out to Stuart Scott. Every time, now it's getting a little hotter out here in the Bay. Every time I flip my pillow, I think of Stuart Scott. R.I.P., man. Rest in peace. Because, you know, he's cooler than the other side of the pillow. One of the best calls ever. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the sneakers. Now, this is obviously right in my wheelhouse as well as your wheelhouse too. This is a sneaker channel. I think everybody knew or knows that he wanted to be with Adidas originally. I don't think that's something that is, you know, too revealing. I think a lot of people already knew that. But if you didn't, I mean, what a bombshell, right? I mean, he wanted to be with Adidas. How funny life works out. What I didn't know about this story was his mom and dad basically made him take that meeting with Nike. You know, his mom and dad come off great. I mean, they're real winners in this documentary. I mean, the mom just looks like a genius. It almost looks like if the mom was really the GOAT. She's what's Michael Jordan's mom's name? Let me look it up. Dolores. I thought it was Dolores. I don't want to say something stupid though. Dolores Jordan is the MVP. She's the GOAT, man. She's awesome. Like nothing she has said is wrong. It just feels like she's got so much advice for Jordan and she's making all the right moves. She's like, you're going to take the meeting with Nike and look at where we become. Who knows? There might not be a Jerome mom without Dolores Jordan. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that his parents made him take the meeting. But what I took out from the whole sneaker segment that started tonight's episodes was Jordan just had great people surrounding him. And for as good as Jordan was, as dominant as he was on the basketball court, and I have no doubt in my mind that if his parents, maybe not his parents, that if he didn't have David Falk as an agent, if he didn't have all these great people surrounding him, I have no doubt in my mind that Jordan would be just as good as a basketball player as he was with those people. What I do have doubt is he might not have been as big of a success. I talked about it last week. I think what made Jordan such a success was that he was human. When he won that first championship, you saw the emotion, right? You saw him crying with his dad, just falling in his dad's arms. When he won that championship on Father's Day against Seattle, after his dad died, and Jordan's just crying on the ground, just overcome with emotions. I think that's what made Jordan so popular, because Jordan was this mythical creature that would just kill everyone on the basketball court. But when he achieved his ultimate goal that seemed impossible and is impossible for a lot of us mere mortals, you realize Jordan is just a man, right? He's just a man. He cries like me. He bleeds like me. But boy, oh boy, he does things that I cannot do. But he's still He's still just a man. I think that's what made Jordan so successful. And I think he's human because of the people surrounding him. And David Falk also comes out as a winner from tonight's episode because he's like, I think Nike's the play here. I think you should go with Nike. They're an upstart. Adidas doesn't want to give you your own shoe. I think Nike's the right move here. So he goes, hey, Nike has this air sole technology, and Jordan, he kind of plays in the air. Why don't we call him Air Jordan? It's like, how more perfect can that be? It can't. I don't know if David Falk is a genius or just connecting the dots, because I feel like if I'm his agent and I see that Nike has air technology and Jordan's flying through the air, I'm like, I feel like I could put two and two together. But it obviously is so obvious to us now. It's easy for me to say that, oh yeah, Air Jordan just fell right in his lap. But at that time, it might have been more difficult than I think it is, because David Falk really kind of manufactured that deal and facilitated that deal for Jordan. And I mean, the rest is history. I mean, I don't know where we'd be without David Falk. We might have been in the same place. We might not be here at all. What do you guys think? Do you think David Falk essentially like connecting the dots between Nike Air and Air Jordan, like, is that easy or is that hard? Am I not giving him enough credit for that, or am I giving him too much credit? If you catch what I'm trying to say here, let me know what you think in the chat. But as you guys are developing your thoughts on that, I do just want to say Nike did take a risk. I mean, Nike took a risk signing a rookie who hasn't achieved anything really at the professional level, and to take David Falk's vision of, I'm going to turn Jordan, a team sport athlete, into a individual kind of athlete like a tennis player. That's a risk. I mean, Nike paid him $1 million, which at the time was unprecedented. Nike did take a risk there, signing Jordan. So it's not like it was a no-brainer for Nike. I mean, it wasn't. It might have been a no-brainer to call it Air Jordan, but it was not a no-brainer to sign a guy who wanted to be with Adidas. And at the time, Converse was king of the sneaker world, and Nike was this upstart. And like I talked about earlier in tonight's episode, Nike and Jordan kind of both rose together, and they both became larger than life. And I think it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? I think Nike and Jordan need each other just as much as they think. I think Nike needs Jordan just as much as Jordan thinks he needs Nike. It's a perfect, harmonious relationship. Let me take a look here in the chat. Stubb says, surprised they didn't go into those old commercials of NBA players speculating that certain players were MJ in disguise. That might be coming, Stubbs, because that happened when he retired. That was an Air Jordan 9 commercial, I believe. I remember those commercials. I have a pair of Air Jordan 9s that are inspired by those commercials. I have the Motorboat Joneses, which are these bad boys right here. Let me look them up for you. Whoops. These bad boys right here. I have these, and these are inspired by those commercials that you're talking about, Stubbs. So I do think that they are going to get into that. They might show it in next week's episode, but we'll just have to wait and see. Take a look more into the chat. Danon says, Nike's power move to be one of the most iconic sneaker companies, signing Jordan or LeBron. Oh, it's got to be signing Jordan. No doubt, Danon. There would be no LeBron without Jordan, I don't think. So, yeah. Paulie D says they definitely balance each other out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I think this is a good time to bring you guys the sponsor for today's episode, the Air Jordan 3. Now, every after show, I want to go through an iconic Air Jordan. And tonight, we're going to talk about the Air Jordan 3. Now, the colorway that I have here, I have 2 colorways of the 3s. Technically, I have 3, but I doubled up on one of them. I'll show you the next colorway in a little bit. But this is the Retro 88 colorway, the white cement Retro 88s, which I think these dropped in 2013, I believe was the year these dropped. And it was a big deal because it had the Nike Air on the back of the heel. Now, up to this point, I think all the Retro Jordan 3s had the Jumpman logo. And that is not how it was on the originals. The originals that Jordan played in had the Nike Air. So when this release dropped, it was highly sought after. And I remember me and my girlfriend trying to get a pair on Nike.com. This is way before the sneakers app, way before all that. And I was shocked that my girlfriend actually got through. I didn't. So I bought these. They were expensive. I think they were like $200. It might have been $210. I feel like that was the retail price on these. But this was a big, big deal, that Nike Air. Now all the retros have Nike Air. And I believe I was told, Nightwing told me this. It used to be that Jordan had to pay Nike to put their logo on the shoes because Jordan's a different company from Nike. They share technology. They're best friends. But Nightwing told me that Jordan had to pay Nike if they wanted the Nike logo. And that's why they went to the Jumpman all over to save money, because Jordan was kind of, still trying to find its way. They still kind of are in a way, at least performance-wise. I think they got the retro game on lock. But if you remember the Band 1 release way back in the day, the release got canceled and then they re-released it out in outlets. And Nightwing told me it was because they didn't get permission from Nike to have the Nike logo on the Band 1s. So that's the story there. I don't know if it's true. That's just what I was told. I have every reason to believe Chris. He's a very smart guy. So, yeah, if you didn't know that, I mean, I'm looking at these. I need to get a second pair. These are absolutely beat. But the Air Jordan 3, originally released in 1988 for $100. Think about that. These now cost what, $180 at least? Now, I mean, they were $100 back in the day, and the early retros were like $110, I believe. Now they're $180, $210. I mean, it's crazy. But anyways, in 1988, when these released, Jordan won the dunk contest. He won All-Star Game MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. So Nike really hit a home run here because the Jordan 1 was a success. The Jordan 2 wasn't quite a success because it was more expensive. They used premium Italian leather. And also Jordan was injured for most of the season. And when he came back, he actually played in a modified version of the Jordan 1 that had the Jordan 2 sole, which had more cushion, but the Jordan 1 upper, which was lighter. So the Jordan 2 wasn't a success. And in response to this, Nike hired Tinker Hatfield to design this shoe. At the time, he was only designing Nike offices and retail spaces. But so they hired Tinker to create this shoe. So this is Tinker Hatfield's first shoe. Grab the other one here. And he took over for Peter Moore, and Peter Moore got fired by Nike, and he actually tried to convince Jordan to leave Nike with him. And Jordan was like, not going to happen. Nah, I'm good. I'm going to stay here with Nike. And God bless he did, because Tinker absolutely killed it with this. Now, Jordan said to Tinker that he wanted a lighter shoe that was durable. That's why you're seeing this mid-cut. But at the time, this really felt like a low. And how it dips here, it really gives off the illusion that the cut is a lot lower than it is. It's a mid-cut. No, don't get me wrong. But that dip, and back in the 80s, it felt like a low-top shoe because it was certainly a lot lower than anything else on the market. So it was visually striking. And it was also the first basketball shoe with a visible air bubble. So that just went right in hand with the Air Jordan line, which is perfect because this is also the shoe that debuted the Jumpman logo. This is the first shoe with the Jumpman, no Nike swoosh, and that's something the Jordan 2s had, no Nike swoosh at all. That's why that shoe, I believe, is underrated. But the introduction of the Jumpman logo was just iconic, and it just set the table for the rest of the Air Jordan line. So the Jordan 3 is definitely, I think, the most iconic Air Jordan. I think it's unassailable. This is the de facto Air Jordan sneaker. And if I could only wear one pair of Jordans for the rest of my life, it's either these or the ones. I think I might choose the ones just because I love to skateboard. You could skate in these, but the Jordan ones is kind of like a skate shoe. I like the Jordan ones just a little bit better. I like the colorways more, but the Jordan 3s, I mean, definitely iconic. It also was the first shoe to show off the elephant print, which you can see right here on the toe rand as well as the heel. So the elephant print, it was just iconic. So let me know what your favorite colorway is of the Jordan 3. Let's take a look here because there are some Jordan 3 colorways that aren't OGs that I think are actually pretty good. But my oh my, we have a new super chat from Maximo Fines, $10. He says, show off your Kobe, #Black Mamba most sentimental in your collection. You know what, Maximo? I will. And right here, perfect. You see the gift right there. You got Kobe and Michael. Thank you so much for the super chat. I will. At the end of this episode, I will show you my most sentimental Kobe sneaker. I have to go off camera, and I want to keep this Last Dance related, but I will, Maximo, just for you. Thank you so much for the super chat, and thank you so much for joining the stream. Let's take a look here at some Jordan 3 colorways. Now, these right here, these aren't too bad. This isn't an OG colorway, and these aren't too bad. I believe these dropped around All-Star Weekend. I like these, but, I mean, there's nothing wrong with these. It just shows you that people only care about the OG colorways, because I think on StockX, let's look at StockX here. How much do you guys think these are going for right now on StockX? Right here. Oh, these are GS. I always click on the GS. Oh, these are preschool. What am I doing? Maybe I type in fire red. Is it this one? Yeah. Look, I could buy, look, for less than retail, I could buy these. Now, they might be fake, StockX. Holla at me. But, yeah, I mean, I don't mind this colorway. I think the Jordan 3 has produced some pretty good colorways over the years. Here's the blue one. This one kind of has to exist because you have a red one. Some people like blue more than red, and to kind of fit with more outfits and to fit in your closet, you kind of have to have a blue one if you're going to drop a red one. So there was that. But there's nothing like the OG colorways. Like, I mean, these Carolinas are dope as well, but it's really about these. This is probably the best colorway of the Jordan 3, the black cements. I wish I had a pair. I can never get my hands on them. I was lucky enough to get my hands on a pair of white cements, but the black cements have always eluded me. How much are they on StockX? Maybe if we get enough super chats, I could get some black cements. It's tax season, though, so I can't. Let's see. Oh, 300 there. I mean, it's not too. That's expensive. If it was $275, I probably would have a pair, but this one, I mean, you could just wear this with absolutely everything. These look so cool with camo as well. I mean, these are iconic. Any other colorways we want to talk about of the Jordan 3? Oh, yeah, the Justin Timberlake chocolate ones. I actually kind of like these. These are kind of cool. Like, you could wear these with a lot of things. I actually like those a lot. The stealth colorway. I remember the stealth colorway was one of the easier ones to get your hands on. And, oh, that's a small picture. Hopefully you guys can see that. Can you guys see that? Yeah. The stealth colorway was like everybody had these. These were the ones where you couldn't afford like a OG colorway, so you got the stealth ones. I feel like Jordan Brand made a lot of these, and a lot of people had them. What else do we got here? Westbrook has some PEs of the Jordan 3s that I don't believe have dropped yet that are dope. But of course, there's the True Blues. These are dope as well. Excuse my eye itching. The allergies are absolutely killing me, guys. Yeah, the M&M ones. What about the M&M ones? These ones are nice, man. M&M just auctioned a pair of these off for charity. Those are so dope. Those aren't Jordan 3s, though, but I feel like he did have a pair of Jordan 3 M&Ms. Did he not? Or were they just the 4s and the 2s? Here are the 2s. But there you guys have it. That was tonight's iconic Air Jordan kind of re-review. Let's get back into the Last Dance reactions. I don't have a whole lot to talk about here. I do want to talk about the Dream Team situation. Now, obviously, Isaiah was not on that team, and a lot of people speculate that Jordan requested that Isaiah wasn't on the team. And Jordan did kind of say, like, if Isaiah was on the team, it wouldn't really have worked as well as it did. So in a way, he kind of confirmed it, but at the same time, Rod Thorne, the guy who was running USA Basketball, I believe at the time, or at least who was in charge of bringing these guys in, he said Jordan never requested that. And in this documentary, we see that Michael says that Rod Thorne called him and Jordan asked, who's playing? And Rod Thorne goes, what do you mean? Who? And Jordan's like, who's all playing? And I believe Rod Thorne kind of took that as a warning. Yep. And then he goes, yeah, the guy you're talking about, he's not playing. He basically told Jordan, Isaiah's not going to be on the team. And Jordan asked Rod if Isaiah was playing without asking him. I mean, that's a real sly move there. But, man, these allergies. I apologize. But you're right, Maximo. They did not like Isaiah. Isaiah was a dog, though. Did he deserve a spot on that team? Yeah, I think we could all say that. I mean, Isaiah's probably the second best point guard ever behind Magic Johnson. Yeah, I said that. I really do. I mean, what this guy was able to do in big games was crazy. I mean, he's crazy. Chi-Town tough, no doubt. And the whole no Isaiah questions clip where Jordan's saying, like, no Isaiah questions, it kind of put everyone in this mindset that he didn't want Isaiah on the team. And I think there's some truth to that, but I don't think Jordan, I don't know, maybe he would not have played if Isaiah was on the team. And I don't think Rod Thorne wanted that to happen. So he didn't want to take any chances. So even though Jordan didn't request that Isaiah wasn't off the team or wasn't on the team, Rod Thorne knew. Rod Thorne knew Michael didn't want him on the team, and he didn't want to take that shot because Rod Thorne was trying to put together the dream team. He was trying to put together the best basketball team the world has ever seen, and he did. And part of having the best basketball team the world had ever seen is having the best basketball player. You cannot have the best basketball team ever without the best basketball player. So Rod Thorne did not want to take any chances. He did not put Isaiah on the roster because he wanted to secure Michael. And it's just smart. It's just smart. And then they go on to talk about the Dream Team practice. Now, we've seen this before. The Dream Team documentary went into this. But a couple of things that they didn't mention in that documentary that they did tonight was Isaiah kind of breaking the ice, right? Isaiah is talking trash to Jordan, and they're winning. Or not Isaiah, excuse me, Magic. Magic is winning. They're up by 8, right? Magic's talking trash. And here's the thing, man. Jordan rises to the occasion no matter what. And that's what I think is the difference between Kobe and Jordan, LeBron and Jordan, Magic and Jordan, any name and Jordan. The difference is Jordan never let anyone down in basketball. Let's think about it. Has he ever let us down? No. He never lost in the finals. He hit every big shot. I'm not saying he went undefeated, but we saw tonight he was down 2-0 against the Knicks, and then what? He swept them from then on. It was 4-2. They were done. He got him out of the playoffs. He never, when people might have thought he was losing it, might have been a little too tired, boom, he rises to the occasion. So when Magic is talking trash to him in the Dream Team practice, he rises to the occasion, he wins the game, and there's a little tensity. It's a little tense on the team bus, and Magic just kind of breaks the ice, right? And everyone's laughing, and everyone's like, "Oh man, that was the best practice ever." I mean, if Magic can't break the ice, we're in the ice age, baby. Magic can break any ice, man. He could break any tense situation, any elephant in the room. Magic is shooting all of that awkwardness down. Magic, that's why he's called Magic, man. That smile from ear to ear, it's infectious. So I thought that was just a great moment that Magic just kind of broke the ice, even though he just got his ass whooped. And it kind of led into Jerry Krause, who doesn't have magic. Jerry Krause does not know how to work a room. Jerry Krause does not know how to, interact with other people and how his interactions affect other people. You know what I mean? He doesn't have that, and it's a skill. It's an absolute skill. Phil Jackson, we saw last week, had that skill with Dennis Rodman. Even though those two guys were kind of different, Jackson knew how to connect with Rodman, and that unlocked the most out of him. That's a skill, guys. If you guys could learn any skill in life, I think you should learn how to interact with multiple different people. Anyone you come across, how to react. That's what I try to do in my life. If I meet someone that's interested in this thing, I want to get to know them. I want to interact with them. I want to be able to hold a conversation with them and make them feel like what they're interested in is something I'm interested in. Because I am. I'm interested in what people do. So I think Jerry Krause does not have this. He's a competitor. He was a good GM. We're not going to get that away from him. He did break up the Bulls, which was, totally inexcusable, but he did it out of competition. He's like, I want to move on in the next chapter. I mean, players do that all the time. LeBron did that with Cleveland. He wants to move on. He wants to see what else he could do. I don't think Jerry Krause did that because he was stupid. Shout out to Ojwa Cindy Jamdar for subscribing. Michael Jordan approves, as you could see. But the reason why I say Jerry Krause doesn't have the magic is because when they won that championship, that third championship, I believe, or was it? No, it was the back-to-back championships. He's saying, the team's great, but the organization, it's the best. They're the reason why all of this is happening. I mean, it rubbed the players the wrong way, and Jerry Krause just did not understand that. Or maybe he did and he didn't care, but that is why Jerry Krause was hated on, because he didn't know how to really interact with these guys in a way that made them feel comfortable. And we saw that with the Tony Kukoc story. Now, I've heard of this story. This was in the Dream Team documentary as well. Jordan and Pippen kind of bully Kukoc in that first game, and they really take it upon themselves to destroy this kid because Jerry Krause kept ranting and raving about him. He was like, oh, man, Tony Kukoc, he's going to come here. He's going to do great. He's the future of the Chicago Bulls. Jerry, what are you talking about? We're winning championships. There is literally nothing more we can do. We're doing the best we can do. The best. We're winning. No one can beat us. And you're saying that we need this guy, Tony Kukoc? Man, F that. You know what I mean? Like, if I was a player, I'd be like, man, F that. What are you talking about? We got Michael. We don't need Tony Kukoc. We got MJ. We got Pippen. We got Phil Jackson. What are you talking about? So that's what I'm talking about with Jerry Krause. He doesn't know how to work a room. It's really crazy. I mean, for as good of a GM he was just not really a people person. The people, what did they say in The Office? Dunder Mifflin. The paper people, whatever. The paper people's people paper? I don't know. Shout out to The Office fans. But the thing with Tony Kukoc is it didn't totally ruin Kukoc. You know what I mean? Like, he did have a better second game, and he did come into the league. He did contribute in big ways to the Bulls' second three-peat. He had a couple nice seasons after his Bulls stint, but it didn't totally ruin Kukoc. So you have to give Kukoc props. And Wilpon said it, man. And look, I'm half Slovenian, so this topic is like, it's not near and dear to my heart because I'm half Slovenian and I wasn't really alive when this was all happening. But Wilbon said, like, man, hey, listen, you don't understand. Tony Kukoc is a tough guy. You know what I mean? Just the way he plays, it's all like, finesse and stuff like that. Mentally, he's tough. He comes from a war-ridden country that at that time when Jordan and Pippen were bullying him, his country was at odds against each other. You know what I mean? So you don't understand how tough Kukoc is. And, I think he is tough. because he comes back that second game. He has a great game, and he comes back and he plays with those guys, and he contributes in big ways, like I said. So I'm seeing some people in the chat asking me about my shirt. This is from Point 3 Basketball. Check them out. They make my favorite basketball gear. Absolutely. I miss basketball. My favorite shirt at the moment. But I want to bring up the Tony Kukoc thing because Jordan and Pippen kind of went at a lot of different guys, right? And we see it in the Phoenix series where Jordan says, you know, I knew Jerry Krause loved Dan Marley, and I wanted to take it out on Dan to show Jerry. You know, I don't know if that's true. I never heard about Krause loving Marley. That's news to me. But Jordan kills him. Is it true? I don't know. Maybe Jordan just makes shit up in his head to motivate himself. You know, he's like, I think Jerry Krause likes you, so I'm going to destroy you. Just to get him motivated. I don't know if that's true. Unfortunately, Jerry isn't here to talk for himself. But one guy that Jordan destroyed, and he wasn't the same after the Jordan experience, Clyde Drexler. And we saw this very early in tonight's episode. Let me get my notes here. Jordan and Magic are playing cards, and Jordan's sitting there telling him Magic is working the NBC broadcast. He's like, you know what I'm about to do to these guys, right? You know what I'm about to do to Clyde. Because at the time, Clyde and Jordan were being compared to each other. Statistically, they had similar seasons, but it really was like, hey, Portland passed on Jordan because they had Clyde. And here's Jordan. They're meeting in the finals. We're finally going to see who's better because they played the same position and they kind of had somewhat similar play styles, right? They Clyde to Glide and Air Jordan. I mean, they both were fantastic athletes. So this was an opportunity for us to get the answer. And I don't think it was out of line for people to be like, Clyde Drexler or Michael Jordan, you know? I mean, I believe if I was there at that moment, I would pick Jordan, but I would see why people are like, hey, Clyde Drexler, this guy's pretty good too. But Jordan's sitting there being like, I'm offended. You guys think I'm as good as Clyde Drexler? No, I'm better than this guy. And he destroys him. And Ainge confirms that Clyde Drexler was not the same after this. And he really wasn't. If we take a look at Clyde Drexler's stats, I have his stats up here. So he goes to the finals in, what was it, 91? Or no, 92. He's averaging 25 a game. After that, he goes to he's under 20 points. And he goes to Houston and he wins a ring, and he's kind of riding on Houston's coattails there a little bit. I don't want to say he's chasing a ring, but he never was the same mentally. Even though the numbers are nice, they are dipping here. And he did meet Jordan kind of in the middle of his career. Jordan was never the same, or Clyde was never the same after Jordan got done with him. And Danny Ainge, do I have that? I don't think I have that article up here. But Danny Ainge basically said, you know, I think it was a little out of line what Jordan did. I mean, Jordan didn't want Clyde touching the ball. He was talking trash to him. He destroyed Clyde Drexler, and Clyde was never the same after it. And if you read the Book of Basketball by Bill Simmons, he kind of goes into detail about how Jordan kind of ruined Clyde's career in a way, which is kind of funny to say because he did win a ring, but the version of Clyde that we saw before meeting Jordan in the finals never really existed after meeting Jordan in the finals. So you got to give it up to Tony Kukoc for, you know, taking that punch right on the nose and coming back stronger than ever. Let's take a look in the chat here. Brian 12ish says he's got a Kukoc jersey hanging right next to his Pippen and Jordan joints. Much respect to Tony. Yeah, that's a tough jersey, man. The Tony Kukoc jersey. You don't see very much of those very often. Josiah says, I just find it hilarious how every player Jerry Krause was even interested in, Michael wanted to absolutely destroy. Yeah, I mean, Jordan's a psycho. Jordan is a psychopath. He is. Wanting to destroy everything that Jerry Krause loves is that's psychotic. I mean, that's just, you got to be a killer to do that. And we're seeing it in this documentary. Jordan is an absolute killer. He's a killer. Let's see here. What else do we got in the chat? Ben Carter says, and he did it time after time to everyone. Yeah, man. He, like I said earlier, Jordan rose to the occasion every single effing time, man. And that's what separates him in the GOAT conversation. I mean, it's not that the fact that he went 6 times undefeated in the finals. It's not the fact that he had the most marketable run as an athlete ever. It's not the fact that, you know, he beat all these legends on way to winning the 6 rings. It's not the fact that every legend says Michael Jordan is the best basketball player that I ever played against, at least not to Isaiah Thomas, but to everyone else. It's all of those. It's all of those facts put together. And you know, the glue that holds all of those facts together is that Jordan is so competitive. He wanted to destroy everyone. And the casualty of him wanting to destroy everyone was guys like Clyde Drexler, guys like Magic Johnson, guys like Isaiah Thomas, where he's like, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going for your title, and I'm going to keep it. And we saw it with the gambling story that John Paxson, it was actually Will Produce told the story, but John Paxson turned to Michael and said, why do you want to play cards with us? We're playing for $1. You're over back there playing with Ron Harper for tens of thousands of dollars. We just got $1 bets going here. Why do you want to play us in cards? And Jordan looks at John Paxson and says, because I want to say that I have your money in my pocket. He's a psycho. Michael Jordan is psychotic. He's cursed. He's cursed with competitiveness. He's cursed with perfection. It's a curse, guys. When I'm up at 3 a.m. editing a video as perfect as it could possibly be, I feel cursed because I cannot publish a video that does not reach my own personal standards. I don't care how much the video or how much views the video gets. I don't care how many subscribers I have. I want to make the video that the best that I could possibly make it at that time. I'm cursed. Jordan's cursed. He's a psycho, guys. He's a psycho, and that's why we love him. That's why we love him. Jordan is a beast, Gene Chang says. Absolutely. Jordan is a beast. Let me take a look at my notes here. We got the Reebok story. I mean, you know, that's a story that actually isn't told very much, but I had this, I knew about that story because I read this book that went into detail about that. And this story just kind of reintroduces us or reminds us that Jordan hates it when you try to intervene after he accomplishes something with such hard work. He hated Jerry Krause for saying organizations win championships after Jordan had just put on all this weight to get past the Pistons, to beat Magic Johnson, to bring Chicago its first title. Then Jerry says some punk shit like that. Yeah, he's pissed off. Hey, aren't you going to acknowledge all the hard work we put in? You know what I mean? So Jordan hates it when people are trying to intervene. He just won a championship. Then he wins the gold medal. He destroys everybody. I mean, it wasn't that difficult, but I mean, he was kind of playing hard, you know, especially against Kukoc, poor Kukoc. And then Reebok and whatever that guy said, you know, you're not going to get your medals if you don't have the Reebok logo or whatever. It's like, this is just BS, man. You got Jordan, you know, out here balling for America. How un-American is it for you to be like, you're not going to get your gold medal if you don't show this business logo? It's like, come on, dude. So Jordan just hates it when you try to intervene with his hard work. It's just stupid. I don't understand why people are trying to mess with greatness, man. You know what I mean? Like, I get annoyed a little bit when I see a comment on a channel where it's like, oh man, you deserve 1 million subs with this video quality. It's like, yeah, but I'm not doing it for the subs, dog. I'm doing it for myself. Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm trying to make money. You know what I mean? But it's really for myself. I want to make the best video that I can make. And when you guys see a Jaramon video, I just want you guys to know that is the best video that I can make right now. And if you look back 2 years ago at my videos, that was the best that I could make it then. And the video that I just put up today, which is about Scottie Pippen's most iconic sneaker, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. That's the best video that I could make today. And that's the Drummond guarantee that you're going to get. And that's the Michael Jordan guarantee that you're going to get. You're going to get the full Michael Jordan experience. You're going to get the full competitiveness. You're going to get the best of him at anything he does. Golf, basketball, gambling. That's just what you're going to get. And if he doesn't do it, it's because he doesn't want to do it. Simple. Like the political views. He doesn't want to do it. Because if he got into politics, you could bet your ass that Jordan's going to be like, no, I want to be the best, political fundraiser campaign guy ever. It's just his competitive nature. Josiah says, hey, Jerome, really appreciate the grit and grind you put into your videos. Absolutely, man. But what you should really appreciate is guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant for instilling that drive in me. Watching this, I'm just like, yes, that speaks to me. Jordan speaks to me because I'm that way. So Josiah, you should really be thanking guys like Allen Iverson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Muhammad Ali, all of these guys, Steve Jobs, who want nothing but perfection. Joe Fortino says Slovenia versus Slovakia. I don't know what you're saying there. I'm Slovenian. That's where my family's from. I'm half Slovenian. Shout out to my guy Luka Doncic, a.k.a. the baby goat. I don't know Slovenia versus Slovakia. I'm Slovenia, though. Pippen versus McGrady. Oh, Pippen all day, baby. Pippen all day. All right, let me take a look at my notes here. Oh, one thing that I thought was pretty funny was the Seinfeld at the end of episode 5. Seinfeld goes into the locker room, right? And I thought this was really interesting because he kind of looked starstruck, right? I mean, Seinfeld at the time was the Michael Jordan of television with Seinfeld. And Jordan himself said it like, look, these are all of your fans right here. Like, they watch nothing but Seinfeld. And I keep telling you, one day they'll be tired of Seinfeld, but no. So Seinfeld was the Michael Jordan of TV. And Seinfeld is walking into the locker room, and his body language, it just kind of gave me the vibe that he was starstruck, which was really odd for me to see because Seinfeld is a star. And you can kind of see Seinfeld navigating through the locker room and trying to be Seinfeld. He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm Seinfeld. Oh, hey, this play on the board, that's not going to work. He's trying to be Seinfeld, but his body language is so much different from the show. You know what I mean? Like, Jerry's playing himself on that show, but it's a heightened version of himself. So I don't expect him to be that version of Seinfeld everywhere he goes. But you could tell when he was walking through that locker room, he was like, oh my God, all these guys are tall. There's Michael Jordan. Holy shit. Like, he kind of felt starstruck. And that's the power that Bulls squad had. That Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. It's the power that team had. Everyone wanted to see it. And this segment, this clip, was right after the whole montage of celebrities being like, oh my God, I had to beg someone for tickets to see Michael Jordan. Everyone wants to see Michael Jordan. Sinbad was saying he was a beggar. So if I had a time machine, everyone goes, oh, if I had a time machine, I'd go back and I'd buy Apple stock or whatever. You know what I mean? No, I'd go back and I'm watching Michael Jordan basketball games. Real talk. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing that, and I'm watching concerts from back in the day. I'm going back to see Run DMC live in MSG with the Adidas and the Adidas rep in the crowd and everyone chanting, my Adidas. I'm going back. I'm watching Bob Marley in a little coffee place in Jamaica. I'm doing that. I'm going back, and I'm watching the Shrug game. I'm going back. I'm going to the Forum, and I'm watching Michael Jordan beat the Lakers. I'm going in the time machine. I'm watching The Last Shot and looking at all these Utah Jazz fans. That's what I'm doing with the time machine. That is what I'm doing. So I thought that was an interesting thing that happened in tonight's episode. Jerry didn't handle the fame like Mike did. I mean, it was different. You could see it. And Jerry Seinfeld's a very famous person. And but when he's standing next to Michael Jordan, he looked like a fan. It was crazy. Let me see what else I got here. Oh, the Jordan Phoenix series. I do quickly want to talk about the Jordan Phoenix series because Jordan absolutely obliterated the Phoenix Suns. Let me look up. What was that? 1993 NBA Finals. Let's look at this together. Shout out Basketball Reference. Michael Jordan averaged 41 points. Look at this, guys. Michael Jordan averaged 41 points in the NBA Finals. Crazy. It's crazy. And the story of him, going, I only packed for one night to his team. I don't know if you guys knew that story. I had known about that story. I mean, it's just a baller move. And this is what I'm saying. Jordan always rises to the occasion. He's going back to Phoenix. The series 3-2. I'm packing for one night. We're winning. We're beating. One thing they didn't mention in this episode was, if you listen to Bill Simmons' podcast, you already know this story, but apparently Jordan played like 72 holes in one of the finals before one of the finals games in Phoenix, and he's apparently sunburned. Ahmad Rashad said that Jordan played so much golf, he was sunburned. So he was sunburned, dropping 41 points a game. Bruh. What? That's why Jordan's the GOAT, yo. And Jordan obliterated Phoenix. I mean, you saw some clips, some highlights. Jordan just walking into the lane. No rim protection at all for the Suns. They kind of played small a little bit in that series, but they didn't play small ball. Their lineup was small, but they didn't play small ball in the sense of, running pick and rolls and, moving the ball around the perimeter. They really just kind of ISO balled with Chuck and even with KJ. But KJ was really bad this series. KJ was bad. I mean, Tom Chambers was playing center, and that's why they were playing small. But KJ, he was bad in this series. Nobody could guard MJ. It just was a bad matchup for Phoenix. There's nothing Phoenix could do. If you're a Suns fan, I'm sorry, but there's just absolutely there's nothing Phoenix could have done there. Jordan absolutely destroyed the Phoenix Suns. And then, of course, John Paxson wins that series with that huge three-pointer, which he was wide open, but he was wide open because someone's pressing Jordan, right? And Jordan passes the ball. I forget who he passes it to. That guy cuts into the lane. I think there's an interior pass, and then that guy passes out to Paxson, and he hits the three. Now, this brings me back to what I talked about last week, where we saw Jordan want to get in that game against Indiana, and he had that minutes restriction. And John Paxson eventually hits the game winner, and Jordan's out there on the court celebrating with him. And remember, I talked to you guys about, I think that was a moment for Jordan to realize they need him to win the game, but they don't need him to make every shot. And that moment was a learning lesson for Jordan, and you're seeing it pay off here, where he passes the ball. Paxson said the ball wasn't supposed to come to him, but as a basketball player, you always have to be ready. Jordan passes the ball for the last shot, and he trusts his teammates to make the right play, and he knows Jordan knows he doesn't have to make the shot. He knows the Bulls have to make a shot. You know what I mean? So he passes the ball, another pass, game. The Chicago Bulls win their third straight NBA championship. And we saw it be teased a little bit at the end of tonight's episode. Jordan's kind of feeling a little exhausted, and we all know what's coming. He's going to retire. I can't wait to see what conspiracies they go to in next week's episodes. There's a lot of conspiracies around his retirement. So if you guys are new to Jordan or you don't know too much about it, I'm telling you guys, I think the best episodes are going to be 7 and 8. I think those are going to be the best episodes of the entire series, even 9 and 10. So get ready, strap in. It's going to be great. But those were our reactions to episodes, what was it, 5 and 6? 5 and 6, right? Yeah. Okay, so thank you guys so much for joining. Now, Maximo Fines with the super chat, you can see right there down here, Maximo with the $10 chat, wants me to bring out my most prized Kobe Black Mamba possession. Now, I think he's thinking of sneakers, but I'm gonna curveball here. I'm gonna show you guys this. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Um, so Maximo with the super chat, $10 wants me to bring out my most prized Kobe Bryant possession. Here it is. This is the shirt that they gave out at the next Lakers home game after Kobe Bryant's death. You got the 8 on the front with the KB logo patch and the 24 on the back. I got this. They played the Portland Trail Blazers. This was the shirt that they brought out. And here's the story behind that, guys. The day Kobe died, I looked up, let me just put this like this. How do I make this like this? Boom. The day Kobe died, he I don't know how to say this. I looked up what the next game was, and it was against the Clippers. And I remember sitting at a restaurant, and I remember just being like, I gotta be there. I gotta be at that game. And my girlfriend said, yeah, you gotta be there. You gotta be at that game. It was like $2,000. It was like $2,000 a ticket, I think. It was a lot of money. And at the time, I had a little money saved up, and I was just like, I gotta be there. I kept saying that because I had only seen Kobe once in my life, but my whole life, I would sit at home, and I'd always tell myself, I wish I was there. I wish I was there. Like Kobe's last game against the Jazz, I remember sitting at home and just being heartbroken because I was like, I belong there, man. Those are my people. That's my guy. I belong there. And I wasn't there. So I told my girlfriend, I was like, I can't do that again. I got to be at this next game. I don't want to sit at home and say, I wish I was there. I got to be at that game. So we bought the tickets, and then the game was postponed. And I was really hurt. I had spent all my money on 2 tickets to go to that game, and they postponed it. I called SeatGeek. I was like, is there anything you could do? And they were like, no. Your tickets are still good when that game is going to be played. It's postponed, not canceled. If it was canceled, you might have a case, but if it's postponed, we can't give you your money back. I was so hurt, guys. I was in a real bad place. But the people in my life, my mom and my girlfriend, they did not want me to miss this game, and they helped me out, and we got tickets to the Portland game. Long story short, we got tickets to the Portland game, and I went. It was beautiful. I'll never, ever forget it. It was, and this is where I got that shirt. I actually got 2 of them. The people next to us didn't show up. Can you believe that? There were like 5 empty seats next to us the entire game. Crazy. But we got an extra shirt. And I'm going to give it to my girlfriend's dad, who was a huge Kobe fan. But this is my most prized Kobe Bryant collection piece. Still fresh. I just posted on my Instagram a clip of, I'll show it with you guys here. Let me bring it up. This right here. It just says, I'll see you down the road. Cool. And they both tap each other. It's just, that one hit me. It's just, Kobe was so cool, man. Like, the GOAT is sitting here like, I'll see you down the road. And Kobe just says, cool. Like, he says it in the coolest way, too. I don't know. Can you guys hear this? I don't think you guys can hear this. but it's just so cool. Go to my Instagram and check that out. I mean, Kobe was my guy. But Maximo, I don't want to let you down. I hope that didn't underwhelm you. This is probably my favorite Kobe shoe ever. And these were DS for so long, but I have worn them quite a bit. I wore these to that game where I got this shirt. This is the Kobe 1 Prelude. This is the most expensive shoe to this day that I have ever bought because I missed out on the retail release and I wanted it so bad, but the resale was just like $575 and I didn't want to do it. But then Kobe comes back against the Raptors and he comes out to the Darth Vader Imperial Death March, you know, dun 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 dun. And this was right after his Achilles injury. And I remember watching that game on tape because I worked that night and I watched it and I'm watching it. My TV's over here and I see him wearing the shoes. I literally swing my chair to the eBay and I pick these up. Back then, there was no StockX. It was that moment where I just knew. I was like, I need these. I need to get this shoe. So I buy it. This is by far the most expensive shoe that I ever owned right now. Kobe 1 Prelude. This is my favorite Kobe Bryant sneaker. But this right here is my favorite Kobe Bryant, you know, piece of memorabilia. R.I.P. to Kobe. R.I.P. to Gigi. It was her birthday recently. Wish you guys were here to watch this with us. But this was the Last Dance after show. We'll be back next week. I want you guys to comment, not in the chat. I want you guys to comment on the video. Leave a comment what Air Jordan I should go over next. Every episode, I want to do a re-review of an Air Jordan sneaker. Today was the Jordan 3. Last week's episode was the Jordan 11. Let me know what I should do next. But I want to thank everyone in the chat. Huge shout out to Maximo Fines for the super chat for tonight's episode. $10, man. I really, really appreciate it. Hopefully we get some more people watching next week. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Josiah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Stubbs2X. Shout out to Demarius. Thank you guys so much for your insight and for your contributions to the chat. I'll see you guys next week. And one last announcement. I love doing these streams, and I'm in the process of developing a sneaker show where we do a live stream and I basically go through all the sneaker blogs and we go shopping online together. And, you know, we just talk about sneakers together. So stay tuned for that. I don't know what to call it. I think it's just going to be called the Sneaker Show, but I'm going to do more live streams. I love interacting with you guys instantly. So thank you guys so much. I'll catch you guys next week. RIP to Kobe. Mamba forever. I miss basketball. Peace.